If you've ever wondered how to navigate retirement planning when there's an age gap between you and your spouse, this video is for you. Aloha everyone, I'm Daniel Masuda Lehrman, your fee-only financial planner based in Honolulu and serving clients virtually nationwide. Being married with an age gap is pretty common among couples, and it comes with some unique challenges. But don't worry, today we're going to break it all down. I'll walk you through the key planning considerations and look at a real-life case study that highlights how to make smart decisions that make sense for the both of you. This is Paul and Holly, which is not their real names, but their situation is very real. Paul, who is 64, is getting close to retirement and wants to make sure that he can retire comfortably, but his main concern is making sure that his retirement doesn't negatively impact Holly's retirement. After all, Holly is only 54 and will likely outlive Paul, so they both want to make sure that they enjoy their time together while also securing Holly's financial future. Paul has a 401k with about $688,000 in it, and Holly has about $450,000 in her 401k, along with a $94,000 Roth IRA. They've recently paid off their house in Kailua, and now they're laser focused on preparing for retirement. Paul and Holly have similar goals. They want to travel, spend time together, and enjoy their retirement while they're still healthy enough to do so. But their plans for when to retire don't quite match up given their age gap. Paul is planning to retire at age 67, so in 3 years, while Holly is thinking about age 65, or well over 10 years from now. One of the first questions I asked upon hearing this was, why? Paul explained that 67 lines up with his Social Security strategy, which we'll get into a little bit later. Holly explained that 65 is when Medicare kicks in, so she feels like that's a normal retirement age. It immediately became clear to me that they had not really dug deep into alternative retirement scenarios that might make sense or that were feasible. So that's where we started, figuring out the why behind those numbers and how we could plan to maximize both their enjoyment in retirement and their financial security. So the next step we did was look at their retirement budget. Paul and Holly told me that their core essential living expenses, excluding healthcare costs, come out to about $7,500 per month after taxes. That's what they'll need to maintain their current lifestyle. But of course, when it comes to retirement, healthcare is a huge factor, especially when there's an age gap. Since Paul is planning to retire after 65, he'll be covered by Medicare, so no problems there. But for Holly, if she ends up wanting to retire before 65, she'll need to cover her health insurance out of pocket. And we estimated about $1,000 a month for the marketplace insurance until Medicare kicks in. After she hits 65, we budgeted about $6,000 in out-of-pocket healthcare costs per year, after she's covered by Medicare. The point is, these are things you need to think about when planning for retirement with an age gap. Healthcare costs are significant, and the timing of when each spouse qualifies for Medicare can make a big difference in your retirement expenses and your ability to retire earlier than 65. So we talked about healthcare, but one big consideration that many couples forget to consider when doing their retirement planning is long-term care. Now, how is long-term care different from healthcare, you might ask? Well, long-term care refers to nursing, in-home health, and assisted living needs as you age. When there's an age gap, it's likely that one spouse will outlive the other. And in Paul and Holly's case, Paul will most likely need care sooner than Holly. We estimated that if Paul needed home health long-term care for the last 2 years of his life, it will cost about $70,000 per year. And here is the problem. Long-term care costs are expensive. And they don't just impact the spouse that needs it, the surviving spouse is often left with significantly reduced assets, which affects their own retirement. So for Paul and Holly, we made sure to stress test their plan by building in long-term care costs and assuming that Holly lives to a ripe old age of 100 years old to see how it would impact Holly's financial security after Paul's passing. Moving on to a less depressing topic, Paul and Holly have one major goal that's really important to them, which is to travel and enjoy their time together while they still have the energy and health to do so. They love taking trips to see the grandkids on the mainland at least twice a year, but they also want to take a big trip to Asia or Europe at least once a year. So we made sure to build this into their budget for the first 10 years of their retirement. We know that as Paul ages, he may not have the energy for those big trips, so they want to make sure that they make the most of their time together now. We increase their travel budget for the first 10 years so they can enjoy themselves without worrying about the financial impact. Now, let's talk about one of the most critical aspects of retirement planning with an age gap: Social Security benefits. For Paul and Holly, we ultimately decided that Paul should delay his Social Security benefits until age 70, because not only will this increase his monthly benefit while he's alive, but it will also increase the survivor benefit that Holly will receive if she outlives him, which is highly likely. To reiterate, maximizing Paul's benefit isn't just about getting the most while he's alive, it's also about protecting Holly's financial future after he's gone. As for Holly, we're planning for her to take her benefit at age 62 since she has a lower benefit than Paul and will take over his higher payments upon his passing. Ultimately, the decision on when to take Social Security depends on your life expectancy, your spouse's life expectancy, and how to maximize the lifetime benefits for the both of you. Now, let's talk about investments. Paul's 401k is 90% stocks, which is pretty aggressive considering he's close to retirement. Holly's 401k, on the other hand, is 56% stock and 44% corporate bonds, which is much more conservative. Because there's an age gap, Paul's portfolio is likely going to be tapped first when he retires, so it makes sense for him to be a little more conservative with his portfolio. Holly, on the other hand, won't need her 401k for a long time, probably not until she's 75 years old. So she actually has more time to stay aggressive with her investments and let it grow. This is a key planning point for couples with an age gap. Each spouse's portfolio should be invested based on when they'll need to start drawing from it, not just based on their age. In Paul and Holly's case, we adjusted their allocations to better match their respective timelines for withdrawals. Finally, let's look at how their cash flow will work in retirement. For the first few years, Paul will be entering retirement and Holly plans to continue working until age 65. Once Paul retires, they'll rely on Holly's income and Paul's portfolio to cover their expenses. Once Paul's Social Security kicks in at age 70, they'll have enough income to cover all their expenses without tapping into his portfolio. But once Paul hits age 73, he will have required minimum distributions from his 401k, so managing their taxable income becomes another point of discussion where having an income plan that staggers their various income sources starts to make a lot more sense. So what's the bottom line for Paul and Holly? Even though there's an age gap, they can still retire comfortably and enjoy those early years together. We've stress tested their portfolio with different scenarios, like long-term care costs for Paul, and even in those situations, Holly is still left with a healthy nest egg to support her own retirement. So if you're in a similar situation with an age gap between you and your spouse, take a look at your retirement plan. Are you factoring in different timelines for healthcare, Social Security, required minimum distributions, and long-term care? It's these little details that can make a big difference in making sure that both you and your spouse are financially secure no matter what the future holds. I hope this real case study was helpful. If so, do me a favor, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more tips on retirement planning. And if you have any questions about your own retirement plan, drop them in the comments below or schedule an appointment on my website. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.